ehlanganisa abangane.
Enjoy Revalue online with TM Pick and Pay Click and Collect. It's time for the news.
Well, thank you so much for joining us here on the main news. I am Justin Matlatla, and Nobo Maungwa joins us at the sign language desk.
And I'm Joyce Mabika. Later on, Arthur Evans will join us from our Montrose studios in Bulawayo. For now, let's take a quick look at our leading stories in this bulletin. President Mnangagwa launches the National Culture Month and urges Zimbabweans to be proud of their culture. In other news, the Trabablas traffic interchange to be commissioned next week. Now look at business news. A record 1,600 meetings held as first ever EU-Zimbabwe Business Forum ends. And in sport, England dominate first day of the Rothsay Test match despite Zimbabwe coming back strongly towards the end. And I'll give you the news in detail. President Emmerson Mnangagwa says Zimbabweans must be proud of their cultural diversity and pursue unity to create a conducive environment for national prosperity. The president was speaking at the Culture Month National Launch celebrations in Chiredzi this Thursday. Our political editor Bruce Chawanda gives us that report.
The launch of the National Culture Month attracted exhibitors of various cultural products, traditional foods, herbs, among other locally produced items, as well as the dance and music which were being showcased. President Mnangagwa had an opportunity to tour the exhibitions, while thousands of people who converged at the Rusununguko Open Grounds gave him a grand welcome. Launching the National Culture Month, President Mnangagwa implored Zimbabweans to be proud of their nationality through preserving cultural diversity.
Muzose zvatinoita tsika dzedu ngadziratidze zvatiri sevene veZimbabwe. Obva wabona kuti tsika iyi ndivana ninga ngati dadei nekuva vanhu vatema. Let us be proud of who we are as Zimbabweans and an African people. This year's theme also seeks to address the historical marginalization and suppression of indigenous languages of all people in their diversity within Zimbabwe as a unitary state. Amadzangu, our cultural diversity is not a source of division, but a wellspring of strength and unity.
The head of state said embracing different cultures is critical for the modernization and industrialization of the country's economy.
By amplifying indigenous voices, we are honoring our past and also paving way for a more inclusive and sustainable future for future generations. Through embracing our different cultures, we tap into the potential of all communities and march ahead towards a modern, industrialized, and prosperous Zimbabwe we all want. It is commendable that the National Culture Month commemorations involve participation of all our people from the grassroots level in all our 10 provinces. This is in line with our heritage-based devolution and decentralization agenda. Sehurumende ZANU-PF tinoti hakuna munhu kana dunhu rinofanira kusara kumashure. Tese tifambire pamwe chete.
President Mnangagwa said funding has been set aside to ensure filmmakers, researchers and academia document local heritage for posterity.
Additionally, the development of film studios to boost the local film industry, along with funding for infrastructure, equipment and capacity building programs for filmmakers are being supported and prioritized. The production of indigenous content in film, television and digital media should ultimately amplify Zimbabwean stories, languages and diverse cultures across the country. I call upon our scholars, our researchers and academia, together with community leaders in our various districts and wards, to increase the documentation of our rich and unique cultural heritage as a way of preserving our norms and values.
As cultural celebrations cascade to various districts, the media was cautioned against promoting moral decadence.
I challenge the media, through those responsible for management, editorial and broadcast content, to be aware of the weighty responsibility on their shoulders of promoting sound and upright moral standards in our nation. The media should never be used to promote moral decadency or a national psyche that goes against the grain of our traditions, our culture, our values and our norms.
The event was attended by the two vice presidents, General Retired Dr. Constantino Chiwenga and Comrade Kembo Mohadi, among other dignitaries. Bruce Chawanda, SADC News, Chiredzi.
The National Cultural Month launch celebrations were punctuated by dance, music, traditional dressing and poetry as participants appreciated Zimbabwe's cultural diversity. The details from Gay Matambo.
Traditional and Afrofusion music took center stage at this year's Culture Month launch celebrations, with local musicians including traditional dance groups and Mbada artists staging performances to celebrate cultural diversity. Locals in Chiredzi cited the importance of preserving one's cultural values, which includes dressing, language and the various cultural traits that encompass indigenous cultures across Zimbabwe. Apart from the fun-packed celebrations of Zimbabwe's diverse culture, traditional leaders believe the cultural event brought with it development that is set to mark a significant shift in the narrative surrounding Chiredzi district. The event was also cited as key in reaffirming Zimbabwe's commitment to protecting and preserving the country's rich cultural heritage.
Together in unity and liberating our diverse culture, our historical background inspires us all, from Plantu to Mutare, from Zambezi to Limpopo, to continue building our beloved motherland Zimbabwe.
The culture is more than just song or dance. It is the heartbeat of our nation.
The commemorations ran under the theme Celebrating Indigenous Voices, thus recognizing and promoting linguistic diversity and cultural heritage of indigenous communities, which include the Shangani, mainly found in Chiredzi district, the host for this year's National Culture Month launch. Gay Matambo, ZBC News, Chiredzi.
Now, as the nation celebrates National Culture Month, a government has reaffirmed the role of traditional leaders in promoting and preserving cultural values, customs and norms.
54-year-old Austin Murwera was officially installed as Chief Chihota at a ceremony held in Marondera this Wednesday after the area spent more than a decade without a substantive chief. Addressing multitudes of people gathered at Materera Secondary School in Chihota, local government and Public Works Minister Honorable Daniel Garwe said traditional leaders play a pivotal role in upholding cultural values and traditions.
President vachisumudzira umambo vakayeuka chinhu chinokosha kuti madzimambo kuti akwanise kuita basa rawo vachinyatsokwanisa mune zvakazara. Chekutanga kusumudzira tsika nemagariro ehumambo hwawo, tsika nemagariro edunhu rinotungamirwa nemadzimambo. Saka nhasi uno patiri kugadza mambo Chihota, tiri kubva tasumudzira utongi hwamambo Chihota netsika nemagariro ana mazvimbakupa.
Tinoda kutenda zvikuru takatarisa umambo hwenzvimbo ino, umambo hwana mazvimbakupa ana Chief Chihota. Chandinotenda guest of honor ndechekuti mudunhu rino ndorimwe rematunhu mashomanana atinawo achiri kudaidzwa nemazita emadzimambo awo.
Chairperson of the Mashonaland East Chiefs Council, Senator Chief Nichombo, congratulated the newly installed Chief Chihota, urging him to champion peace and development in the district.
Tinotambira mambo Chihota tichiti tinokutambira mambo sesu madzimambo takabatana nehurumende muchirongwa chedu chemvura naya.
The new chief replaces Frederick Mapfumo Chigodora, who died in August 2013.
The SADC region has been rallied to upscale conservation strategies to promote the regional integration agenda, sustainable development and environmental protection.
Since Monday, the region has been discussing the critical issue of conservation while celebrating 25 years since the coming in of the regional transfrontier conservation areas, SADC TFCAs. The discussions were building blocks towards the Heads of State Summit to be held in Harare this Friday. Addressing the Regional Council of Ministers meeting at the Harare International Conference Center this Thursday, SADC Executive Secretary His Excellency Elias Mahose said TFCs recognizes that joint management of shared natural resources across borders fosters peace and stability while ensuring sustainable conservation.
This program serves as a strategic platform for SADC member states to collaborate in managing shared ecological resources, promoting peace and security, and advancing rural development and sustainable tourism. It remains one of the most visible and impactful expressions of regional integration within SADC.
He further applauded the support by the international community in furthering the issue of conservation within Southern Africa.
Permit me as well to express our profound, and I need to underscore this, gratitude, profound gratitude to all our international cooperating partners, including especially the Federal Republic of Germany, the European Union, and the IUCN, International Union for Conservation of Nature, among many others, whose ongoing technical and financial support has been instrumental in advancing the region's TFCA's program and initiatives. Through their contributions, the region has achieved remarkable success in transboundary conservation, sustainable development, and in a way made regional integration a reality.
Chairperson of the Council, Professor Amon Murwira, weighed in, saying the success of the Transfrontiers program for the past 25 years is a testament of what can be accomplished if nations unite for a worthy cause.
The Transfrontier Conservation Areas program stands as a monument to regional solidarity in action. It is a testament to what can be accomplished when nations unite in purpose and vision for a common well-being. It tells a story of ecosystems restored, ecosystems managed, ecosystems sustained, livelihoods transformed, and borders reimagined as conduits for prosperity and peace.
Meanwhile, a memorandum of understanding on the conservation of migratory birds of prey in Africa and Eurasia, Raptors MOU, has been signed by Zimbabwe together with the Convention on Conservation of Migratory Species of Wild Animals Secretariat. Olina Ndori, ZBC News, Harare.
The Minister of Lands, Agriculture, Fisheries, Water and Rural Development, Dr. Anxious Masuka, says Zimbabwe is expecting to learn and benefit from the Brazil agriculture and food security model.
Dr. Masuka is leading a Zimbabwean delegation at the Brazil-Africa Dialogue on Food Security, a fight against hunger and rural development conference in Brasilia. Tendai Mnengwa is in Brazil and he filed the following report.
Zimbabwe has joined several African countries at the Brazil-Africa Dialogue on Food Security being held here in Brasilia to discuss and make the way forward on how best Africa can benefit from the new global alliance against hunger and poverty being spearheaded by the Brazilian President Lula da Silva.
Msangano urikuitwa uyu nhasi ndiwo yechipiri kutanga wakaitwa muna 2010 uno uyu ndiwo weBrazil Africa. Zvinoreva kuti tinoda kubatana kuti tipedze njara tigoitawo vandudza budiriro kumaruwa. SeZimbabwe takatotanga kare navo takapuwa matractor atakapa vazhinji.
Zimbabwe will derive lessons from the vibrant Brazil rural policy to propel President Emerson Mnangagwa's dream to transform rural communities under Vision 2030.
Tinovimba kuti musangano uyu uchatipa mazano okuti chirongwa chaPresident iti Mnangagwa chokuti takabudirira na 2030 chinyanye kumhanya chaizvo. Isu tinoziva kuti kushanduka kwokumera kwokuzvi kunoramba kuchiitika, saka takati tipfumvudza pamusha wega wega tivandudzawo madiridziro kuvaka madhamu nekuita zvakadero kuno kuBrazil ndozvavari kuitawo.
Some of the main objectives of the new global alliance against hunger and poverty are reaching out to over 500 million people with income generating projects, providing school meals to over 150 million children across Africa, as well as providing pregnant monitoring mechanisms to over 200 million women across Africa.
Our apologies for poor sound quality in parts of that report. Now, the need to preserve African heritage came under the spotlight at the UNESCO Africa Week, which ended this Wednesday in Paris, France.
The Africa Week celebrations that were being held at the UNESCO headquarters in France, Paris, ended this Wednesday on a highly artistic note, with traditional music outfits, models joining forces in putting up top-notch acts. Africa Week celebrations, which coincided with the Culture Month, saw the First Lady, Dr. Zulia Mnangagwa, being invited by UNESCO to be guest of honor, owing to a deep passion for the preservation and promotion of culture. Out of her relentless efforts to preserve the nation's identity and cultural values, Dr. Mnangagwa, who is the country's culture and heritage ambassador, has initiated various initiatives meant to restore good morals. During a visit to France, Dr. Mnangagwa was invited to meet the First Lady of France, Mrs. Brigitte Macron, at her palace for a courtesy meeting. Amam Mnangagwa and their French counterpart exchanged notes on various issues, including women empowerment, education, health, tourism, wildlife conservation, agriculture, and child marriages, among others. The two first ladies further discussed challenges being faced by youths, especially young girls, with Mrs. Macron stating that child pregnancies are also being witnessed in France. Amem Mnangagwa extended an invitation to Mrs. Macron to visit Zimbabwe, a gesture she gladly accepted. During the course of the program, Dr. Mnangagwa delivered a powerful speech which resonates with the continent's aspirations, much to the delight of the guests. Marking the closing of the event, a musical gala was held where several groups from different countries showcased their artistry. The musical gala was dubbed Cultural Night of Expressions, with a variety of traditional tunes combined with waist-wriggling African dances and fancy footwork. The Zimbabwean traditional group became the favorite of many at the music extravaganza after lighting up the stage with its unique flair, keeping the audience's eyes glued to the stage. Their Zimbabwean traditional attire and accessories like mop spears, wristbands, crowns and knob carries were icing on the cake.
Bravo, Zimbabwe!
Fashion designers from Zimbabwe also brought their A-game on the stage, showcasing their ingenuity with outfits made from locally available materials. The modeling session gave African designers a platform to shine at a global stage. Those in attendance swarmed the Zimbabwean cultural ambassadors to know more about the eye-catching unique pieces. Earlier on, the First Lady received special acclaim at the 2025 edition of the Africa Week, where the body recognized Africa's power in preserving its culture and heritage sites for the benefit of future generations. The annual event celebrates the cultural diversity of the African continent through all of its regions, which are North Africa, West Africa, Central Africa, East Africa, Southern Africa, and the sixth region, which is the African diaspora. Previously addressing guests, UNESCO Deputy Director General Mr. Jing Ku thanked the First Lady for honoring the invitation and for her initiatives meant to protect Africa's rich cultural heritage. He also underscored the importance of training youths in heritage conservation and preservation.
This is not only about the physical restitution of objects, however precious they may be, but about a holistic approach, one that engages the power of education, scientific research, cultural diplomacy, and international cooperation to restore memory, strengthen the capacities of African societies, and build a common foundation of dignity, knowledge, and mutual understanding.
Ambassador of Zimbabwe to France, Spain, Portugal, and the Vatican, Dr. Sekai Nzenza, highlighted the need to preserve African heritage, which helps restore the continent's pride and dignity.
In looking at African heritage and looking at the wisdom that comes from indigenous knowledge systems, we see solutions. In Zimbabwe, the First Lady of Zimbabwe has identified that it's really important for us to look back as Africans at the values and the wisdom of our ancestors, of our heritage. In those values, we find ways to reclaim, to protect, also to recreate our present in order for us to look to the future. This knowledge of our ancestors, we deeply rooted in our heritage inspires us, gives us the education to look to the future. It also helps us to celebrate Ubuntu. In Shona, our language, we say Ubuntu, but in most places across Africa, Ubuntu, the African philosophy that unites us as a people.
Ms. Vera El Khoury, chairperson of the UNESCO Executive Board, marveled at the unity showcased by the African continent, adding that Africa is a source of inspiration.
This week allows the world to see, hear, taste, and feel the heartbeat of Africa. And every year, through this celebration, you remind us that Africa is not just a continent, but a source of inspiration and pride for all of us.
Dr. Philemon Dwara, who is the ambassador and permanent delegate of the Republic of South Africa to UNESCO, hailed Dr. Mnangagwa for gracing the event, adding that Africa Week is the highlight of the UNESCO calendar.
On behalf of the Africa Group and all the permanent delegates of our group at UNESCO, I wish to express our sincere appreciation and deep gratitude to First Lady Amai Dr. Auxilia Mnangagwa for honoring us with your presence today. The Africa Week is a highlight of UNESCO's annual calendar, and this year's theme, mirroring that of the African Union for 2025, resonates deeply with our shared commitment to safeguarding, honoring, and restoring Africa's invaluable cultural legacy.
This year's edition of the UNESCO Africa Week was held from the 19th to the 21st of this month, where the need to preserve Africa's rich cultural heritage was topical. The theme was global solidarity for the restitution and restoration of African heritage through culture, education, and sciences. The diversified program included conferences, cinema, gala, and exhibitions, and it attracted participants from 153 member states. Colette Msanyera, ZBC News, Paris.
And so a critical component of culture is food, and food comes from agriculture. Now back home, farmers are reaping the benefits of a collaboration between a local seed house and the Slalabohwa Irrigation Scheme, which financed the production of more than 100 hectares of sugar bean.
While government embarked on massive revitalization of defunct irrigation schemes across Matabele and South through programs like the Smallholder Irrigation Revitalization Program SEP, Green Climate Fund GCF, and AVIS, the missing link between this massive endeavor and production has been financing of these schemes. As such, the collaboration between a local seed house, Sadzamatura, and more than 200 farmers at Slalabohwa Irrigation Scheme has set the community on a transformative journey.
Vele scheme sesivuselelekile nje ngaphandle ukuthi sibiya sikabiwa kuphela kodwa kuvuseleleka akuya improve kuyahamba sibili. Lelo ngokusincedisa ukuthi njengoba thina silamali phela singalamali basincedisa ukuthi basidingele into zonke ezifunekayo silime sizuze inzuzo sihlepnela la bathatha okwaba bakusilela ukuthi basitshela khona njengoba sisebenzile.
Ngibona ngathi njengalapha thina sihlala endaweni kuma rural areas sikhangelela ukuthi lathi kusiyafika ivision 2030 sibe sesingabanye lathi esithuthukileyo njengoba ubona nje ise rural area ayina shop ayina chi toda ukuthi tubone ukuthi tokwanisa zose zoyekwanisa zona bamwe bani sekubhadala ma school fees.
Under the partnership, farmers are provided with inputs to produce commercial sugar bean seed.
We are supporting the government for the effort of revitalizing these irrigation schemes. And as you know, these farmers who were given plots within this irrigation scheme didn't have finance to make sure that there's such a good crop that we see today. So Sadzamatura came out and then collaborated with the farmers together with Agritechs to make sure that we put to production and secure good seed.
Most of the canals were not working well by then, but now the system is just working very well.
and the investment that the government put in here is reaping some results.
The 442 hectares Lalabuha irrigation scheme is one of the major communal irrigation schemes rehabilitated by government in Matabeleland South under the SEP program, with Sebasa, Makwe and Guyu now up and running. Providence Maranelli, ZBC News in Caesar.
The third installment of the Special High Court Circuit in the Midlands Province has commenced with a resolute approach, handing down substantial sentences to individuals convicted of grievous crimes.
In a notable case, Collins Jongwe and Stephen Matenganyika were given life sentences by the Gweru High Court for the brutal murders of Kenneth and Taylor Chirash. The court heard that the duo approached the couple at their Kwekwe residence, strangled Kenneth with a cable and struck him with a pickaxe. Taylor was assaulted with a shovel and pickaxe. After the murders, the perpetrators stole the victim's vehicle. Elsewhere, Tawanda Kuvaruno, aged 32 from Berengwa, was sentenced to 45 years in prison for murder and attempted murder. Kuvaruno was found guilty of fatally stabbing Francis Banda 11 times in 2018 after a dispute at a nightclub in Berengwa. In another case, Tatenda Hove, aged 24, was caged 25 years behind bars for the murder of 22-year-old Pardon Wengai. The incident occurred last year after a dispute over a Bluetooth speaker. Meanwhile, Lloyd Shosha of Nidza village under Chief Nema in Shurugwi will serve 20 years behind bars for stabbing Lovemore Mapigo, who had confronted him over stolen cash. These proceedings are part of a broader initiative by the Midlands High Court Circuit to significantly reduce the backlog of murder cases. Peter Chivima, ZBC News, Harare.
Commuter omnibus drivers, some of them unlicensed, have become a nightmare for other road users, including the commuting public, due to their reckless driving. Now, since January this year, over 20 lives have been lost to fatal accidents involving commuter omnibuses, highlighting a sitting crisis on the country's roads.
The evidence to an unfolding crisis: commuter omnibus drivers entrusting the lives of passengers to unlicensed colleagues. For each single trip, they are paid at least $2 US before they wait for another commuter omnibus to take over. Passengers will sit and trust the driver, oblivious to the underhand arrangements which place their lives at serious risk. It is moments like these that ring fear in many, the goodbye wave which may become the last. The reality of this is confirmed by a fatal road accident involving a commuter omnibus which occurred on the 19th of March this year and claimed 7 lives. According to official statements, the driver was unlicensed. Within the past year, the country has recorded over 10 fatal accidents involving commuter omnibuses, a trend which has ruffled authorities.
Open recklessness by some of these commuter omnibus drivers. They go through red robots, they create imaginary lanes, they behave as if there are no laws in the country. So these are some of the issues which are contributing to some of the accidents.
Under the shade of this Musau tree, the so-called relief drivers wait for another dance with the lives of those they are entrusted to carry. This is just but one of the many points in Harare. These points are what are known within their circles as employment centers.
They exchange, vehicles with some people who are not even authorized, not even licensed to be driving that particular class of vehicle. For example, you find a conductor or a windy driving a combi, picking passengers, yet the driver is supposed to be doing that, and the driver will be engaged in other errands. And we are also aware that we now have a trend where some drivers, they get employed by 2 or 3 people, and as a result they also get to employ their own drivers, and in this case they will give the vehicles to conductors or the windies, and then we have accidents.
These are the killers on our roads, who every moment are seconds from being involved in an accident.
Stories are available on our website. It is www.zbcnews.co.zw.
And remember also to check our social media platforms on Facebook, on YouTube, on X, as well as on Instagram and TikTok, as well as our WhatsApp group. We are at ZBC News Online.
And here are stories still to come in this bulletin.
Next week.
In business, a record 1,600 meetings held as the first ever EU-Zimbabwe Business Forum ends.
In sport, England dominate first day of the Rothsay Test match despite Zimbabwe coming back strongly towards the end. Stay tuned for these and more after this break.
Zimbabwe, through the Ministry of Transport and Infrastructural Development, is excited to host the 10th International Civil Aviation Organization Africa Indian Ocean Aviation Week, taking place from the 26th to the 30th of May 2025 at the Elephant Hills Resort in the majestic city of Victoria Falls. This event is set to be officiated by the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, His Excellency Comrade Dr. Emmerson Mnangagwa. The Africa Indian Ocean Aviation Week is dedicated to advancing safety, security, and development of the aviation industry. Among the distinguished delegates will be the International Civil Aviation Organization President, Secretary General, Director Generals of Civil Aviation Authorities, among others. Africa Indian Ocean Aviation Week, advancing global aviation standards. The grand finale of Amai's traditional cookout competition is set to ignite the stage on the 25th of May 2025 at Mabidi Stadium in Bainbridge, Matabeleland, South Province. This exciting event brings together talented chefs from communities, tertiary institutions, professional chefs, and persons with disabilities, all showcasing the finest in local cuisine, from indigenous dishes to creative gastronomic twists, spearheaded by Her Excellency, the First Lady of the Republic of Zimbabwe and Patron of Tourism, Dr. Auxilia Mnangagwa. This national initiative promotes Zimbabwe's gastronomy while preserving cultural identity through food. As we celebrate unity and diversity across the nation, the cookout highlights culinary excellence, innovation, and inclusion. Come and experience the true taste of Zimbabwe, where heritage meets creativity and every dish tells a story. Let's celebrate Africa Day in true gastronomic style. Discover the hidden gems of Matabeleland South Province. Enjoy vibrant cultural performances and explore Zimbabwe through its flavors and warm hospitality. Entry is absolutely free. Experience Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe Gastronomy Cookout Finale
2025. Shumba Plus Dust, the extra strong grain protector. More power for less money.
It's time for the main event. This is incredible. He has written it, and the dream lives on. I cannot believe it.
Stay connected to DS TV this April and May and get all the football finals you want.
Thank you for staying with us. President Emmerson Mnangagwa is expected to commission the Trebablas traffic interchange next week after the completion of the flagship project.
The Minister of Transport and Infrastructural Development, Honorable Felix Mona, was this Wednesday asked to explain the state of the country's road rehabilitation program including progress in the construction of the Trabablas traffic interchange during a Senate question and answer session. It emerged that the traffic interchange, one of the Second Republic's signature projects, is now complete and ready for commissioning next week.
His Excellency is going to commission the Trabablas interchange that was being talked about. And once again, to the people of Zimbabwe, those doubting Thomases that were saying maybe it's just a roundup, this is a magnificent infrastructure where we are talking of close to, in terms of kilometers, about 8 kilometer stretch of the interchange, and plus or minus 6 kilometers of outside roads within the precincts of this interchange. So in addition to that, we then have interchange again, which is grade separation at Rothmans. We've already started working on that. Those who are using that road today, we've opened another leg of the road. And as we move towards ZBC Mbare, we are going to be having another grade separation, a mini interchange. And we are going to rehabilitate the flyover at Simon Mazorodze. And good news again, in this coming third quarter, we are starting the Mavuku interchange.
Meanwhile, the state of housing delivery, national housing backlog, and the provision of affordable housing facilities also dominated the debate in the Senate.
Our NDS1 target initially was 220,000 housing units that we needed to do between 2021 and 2025. But when we got to the midterm review, we had surpassed that target, and a new target was assigned to the ministry, which we are currently working on, and we envisage that when we get to the end of this year, we would have done about 1 million housing units, and that comprises of fully completed houses and fully serviced stands.
Debate also focused on the state of railway infrastructure in Zimbabwe, with measures being put in place to revitalize the national railways of Zimbabwe. John Nandara, ZBC News, Mount Abden.
We now shift to our Montreal studios in Bulawayo, where we join Arthur Evans. Arthur, it's over to you.
Thank you so much, Justin. Some very interesting developments in the previous story, and we have even more in our first story here from Montrose. The Second Republic continues to make remarkable strides towards advancing the decentralization policy, with one of the country's dry regions, Marula area in Matabeleland South, venturing into the production of naturally cured Virginia tobacco for the very first time. Now, the region made history after it launched the first ever tobacco auction floor this Thursday.
After its first ever tobacco auction floor was launched this Thursday, Matabeleland South region, a non-traditional tobacco growing region, has become a beacon of innovation, resilience and prosperity.
This is, like I mentioned, the first of its kind, and in such a beautiful province of Matabeleland South, where this was almost unheard of a few years ago. So we're so proud of the tobacco industry, and we're so proud to have the private sector heeding government's call. And this comes because of the Second Republic has provided the enabling environment. President Mnangagwa's Vision 2030 is really transforming communities, and this is the typical example where we've come to a community that hasn't been doing very well in terms of performance of GDP, in terms of people's livelihoods, and this now transforming the lives, and we are seeing the start of something massive. And as I mentioned, leading into President Mnangagwa's Vision 2030.
Naturally cured Virginia tobacco promotes smart climate agriculture, unlike flue-cured tobacco, as it does well in dry regions and requires no coal or firewood, significantly lowering production costs.
We're in a semi-arid region where they couldn't grow normal tobacco the way they do it up in Mash East, Mash Central, etc., etc. So it's a huge opportunity, and this is putting, even on a hectare, you're putting another $2,500, $3,000 in the pocket of a farmer, which is a huge amount of money for people who live in marginal areas.
By unlocking opportunities in non-traditional tobacco growing regions, farmers are convinced the cultivation of the golden leaf in Matabeleland South will set the province's economic trajectory on a right footing.
Abantu abethu sinje sihlala singubaba lo mama kuphela babaleka baye South Africa. Kodwa khathesi mina abami abantwana bafuna daily bathi mama sicela imali. Ngathi buya uzoyibona ngoba imali sikhona ekhaya.
Now ukubuya kwegwayi
sekusincede ukuthi sibe lapha esiconcentrate khona ukuthi asisatshoni sitshana ngamakhanda sithumelele i-donor funding.
With over 260 bales on an average of 80 kilograms having been sold at the auction floor, buyers are pleased with the new expansion to naturally cured tobacco as it reduces environmental impact while supporting sustainability goals.
We are fully supporting the transformation plan and furthering the development of the tobacco trade within the Zimbabwean community, hence moving all the way down into the Matabeleland South.
Although naturally cured Virginia tobacco is cost-effective, the tobacco produced still shares the same chemical compositions as flue-cured tobacco, offering buyers a high-quality product. Lisa Masuku, Korea, ZBC News.
Still more positive news coming out of the agricultural sector as millers are optimistic of a bright future ahead of the harvesting season after the country recorded normal to above normal rainfall patterns, pointing to a good harvest for the 2024-2025 summer cropping season. Also in other news, we'll bring you that story right now.
The just ended summer cropping season recorded good rains countrywide, setting the country on a pedestal towards a food self-sufficiency. Millers in Bulawayo believe supplies by local farmers will lessen the import costs associated with sourcing grain from neighboring countries.
From last year, 2024, we have moved volumes, we've pushed volumes. We're milling something like 2 trucks per month. But from January up until December, we're starting to mill something like 6 to 8 trucks a month. That's 270 tons per month. So when we're looking at that, we saw that the increasement in the tonnage was due to the quality.
Parishino tanga tichisenza zvakanaka. Tanga tisatava zvedu ne challenges shortage yechibage. Asi challenge yatinayo imwe chete yokuti kuwanikwa kechibage isusu muno mutoshandisa ma-US nema-ZIG. Saka challenge yatinosangana nayo kazhinji ma-rates anozoita kuti zvinhu zvedu zvisava stable pama-prices apa. Takatarisirawo kuti kana chikawanikwavo muma-local farmers chino mutengo uri pasi zvinoita kuti nesuwo upfu hweduwo hwidzikewo price.
Government, through the Grain Millers Association of Zimbabwe, GMAZ, has created an enabling environment for millers to thrive and is set to issue an import embargo to promote local farmers. GMAZ Southern Region Chairperson Mr. David Moyo highlighted strides made by government to ensure food security.
We want to prioritize the local maize than the foreign one. So we are hoping that since the maize is now drying up, we'll start buying the maize from farmers. It will be a good thing. The price will be very competitive.
The country recorded a normal to above normal rainfall patterns, indicating a good harvest for the 2024-2025 summer cropping season.
Well, the delay in bringing you that previous story might have been a precursor, denoting that delay is not always denial, as our next story shows. Major hospitals are the main beneficiaries of the Midlands Minister of State for Provincial Affairs and Devolution's Independence Ball after receiving consignments of foodstuffs to help them sustain their operations.
Some referral hospitals in the Midlands province were gifted with foodstuffs to cushion patients at a time they are facing budgetary constraints.
As clinicians, we do expect that we are supposed to give our patients nutritious foodstuff. Things they were not okay. So what I can say, I don't know how to express this gratitude to our own minister, Minister Muda, for such a hand. This will actually give us an impact in the way that we are managing patients.
As you know, we are rural hospitals in Midland Province. Our patients have been facing challenges in terms of food provision, and the gesture which has been extended to us as district hospitals and mission hospitals by Honorable Minister will go a long way in alleviating the situation which was prevailing at our hospitals.
Government says the Second Republic is seized with improving the country's health sector for the benefit of the citizenry.
The Second Republic, under the able visionaries leadership of the President, Comrade Emerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa, is seized with transforming the health service delivery as one of its fundamental pillars under the National Development Strategy 1, propelling social-economic development.
The Minister of State's Independence Ball, an annual event, gives corporates an opportunity to assist the less privileged, with the event raising 35,000 United States dollars this year. Tafaraj Kumira, ZBC News, Gweru.
From the Midlands province, we take you to the Harare province, to our Pocket Hill studios for more news.
Thank you so much, Arthur. Muzarabani residents are convinced the $270 million United States Mbada Dam project will transform the farming area into a green belt and also a pedestal for rural development.
Significant benefits comprising 15,000 hectares of irrigation covering Muzarabani district, hydropower generation and clean drinking water for Centenary Town are said to be unlocked through establishment of Mbada Dam, initiated by government under the Public Sector Investment Program PSIP. Muzarabani residents are eagerly waiting for completion of the project.
Temu iri kana rakanzira vakwa munzvimbo ine vanhu vachashandisa madiridziro kudiridzira mbeu. Ino inzvimbo inorimwa zvakanyanya asi inoda kutsigirwa nemvura inofanira kunge isingapere.
Yekunwa chaichari tori dambudziko zvibhorani zvedu mumakomo zvakatobaya izvezvi zvimwe hazvina kana mvura yekunwa.
Special Advisor to the President for Monitoring Implementation of Government Projects, Dr. Joram Gumbo, toured the Mbada Dam site, describing the project as a cornerstone for development.
It is a very important project, not only for the community around this area, but also for the country as a whole, because it will provide a lot of benefits, including the enhancement of water supply to the community and also to the Centenary Business Center. And also there will be some irrigation which will actually enhance food security. If completed, there will also be some attraction for tourism in this area.
The Zimbabwe National Water Authority, SINWA, is the engineer for Mbada Dam being constructed by Makomo Construction.
It's about 13% progress to date. And the scope of works include the dam itself, as you can see from the background. This is our dam site, which is going to be a double curvature concrete dam. It's going to be 70 meters high, and also it's going to be 360 meters long.
Chief Chiweshe said traditional leaders are fully behind Mbada Dam construction and carried out the necessary traditional rites to ensure smooth construction.
Damu iri rangarambotizi nokudagwa kuti pane dzimwe nguva kushayikwa kwemari asi taane tarisiro kana taane chivimbo chokuti President vachatibatsira kuti damu redu ripere.
Wholly funded by government's PSIP program, Mbada Dam construction was allocated 36 million ZiG in the 2025 national budget. Tapiwa Machemedze, ZBC News, Muzarabani.
Let's take a break. We'll be back shortly with business news.
Shark on the line.
He took my fish.
You guys, did you see that? I just was like, what?
I really want you to find someone nice who would mean the world to you and make you so happy.
Bernardo Silva, Stones, Foden, a little bit of time. Oh, what a shot! What a goal! What a player!
Mm-hmm.
Welcome back. More than 1,600 meetings were recorded over the three-day EU-Zimbabwe Business Forum in a huge demonstration of the overwhelming success of the engagement. European Union Ambassador to Zimbabwe, His Excellency Jobs von Ketchman, speaks on the success of the first ever EU-Zimbabwe Business Forum after company visits concluded the conference this Thursday.
We had 1,600 meetings, can you imagine that, on platforms B2B, on online, spontaneous meetings. So lots of businesses met. We had 700 companies wanting to register, and we had space for 250. So we have accepted over 60 European companies, the rest were Zimbabwean companies. And I think that was for me a real pleasure to see that the room was full. And that there was a real interest in looking into investing in Zimbabwe and doing trade with Zimbabwe. When I look at the opportunity part, I mean, on renewables, we heard 38% of electricity production is currently missing. 16 billion in capital is missing. I think that's a huge opportunity, particularly for solar in a country where you have 300 days of sunlight. When I look at the horticulture sector, that value chains which were presented, where the demand from the European Union goes well beyond the current production from Zimbabwe. Just to mention blueberries, for example, even if the current production would be doubled, increased by 100%, it would still be below the demand from the European Union. So these are value chains which are, I think, easy, and they are, I would call them a no-brainer.
From the colonial corridors of power to Zimbabwe's independence and public service, Dr. Andries Rukobo has captured his remarkable journey in print to contribute to the understanding of the country's evolution and successes. I'll look at the arts.
An itinerant social scientist, Memoirs of a Public Servant, is the compelling book by Dr. Andries Matenda Rukobo, a veteran civil servant whose career spans over 4 decades. His newly released memoir traces a life shaped by shifting national landscapes and an enduring commitment to development, adding to the list of social and political commentary on the country's evolution.
I felt that I needed to contribute to our own history, the making of our own history, so that we own the history if we write it from our own perspective. Secondly, I also wanted to contribute to the understanding of the evolution of our public administration system. Thirdly, I wanted to emphasize the importance of service to one's nation.
Dr. Rukobo offers a glimpse into government's approach from the early independence years to the Second Republic's drive for engagement and re-engagement with the international community.
Independence was something which was historic. They brought about changes. There was empowerment of the black people, removal of racist and racial apparatus that existed. As you can see now, there is a lot of activities which are taking place. The re-engagement policy, for example.
Dr. Rukobo served in various ministries and institutions, offering policy guidance and advocating for community-based development. As the country reflects on its journey and future, voices like Dr. Rukobo serves as a reminder that history is best told by those who lived it. Patience Nyagato, SABC News, Harare.
Let's all look at the arts. Taking us to a break. When we return, we join Anna Shemrombedzi in the Sports Corner for the latest. Stay with us.
Shumba Plus Dust, the extra strong grain protector. More power for less money.
Hey, guess what? My parents are turning me into a responsible adult. They opened a junior save account for me at AFC Commercial Bank. And now, I'm saving up for my dreams. I'm talking big dreams, people. Maybe a billionaire entrepreneur someday. But seriously, having a junior save account is actually real cool. My parents can deposit my allowance, birthday money, and if I do my chores right, maybe even a little extra. Plus, with AFC Commercial Bank's Junior Save account, I earn interest on my savings. That means my money grows over time and I can achieve my dreams even faster. So, Mom, Dad, open a Junior Save account for your child at AFC Commercial Bank. Trust me, it's the right link for a bright future, one with no charges.
Welcome to the Sports Corner. Anasham Rombedzi here with the latest in the world of sport. Now, Zimbabwe ended the first day of the Rothsay Test match strongly despite host England putting on a mammoth 498-3 at Trent in Nottingham.
Instead of bringing a respite, piled on more misery as Popper came in aggressive, hitting a century along the way, despite Sikandar Raza getting the wicket of Crawley for 123. In the final session, Zimbabwe started to find their length, and Blessing Mzarabani begged the wicket of Joe Rutter for 34 as Zimbabwe finished strongly. The hosts are evidently ahead. However, the Chevrons will be happy with their final session heroics and will be looking for more of the same on the second day. The historic test match, the first between the two nations, continues this Friday with day 2's action. Lawrence Trusida, ZBC News, Harare.
The Zimbabwe Football Association ZIFA says it has started preparations for the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations slated for Morocco in December. It also announced the imminent return of the ZIFA Cup.
ZIFA appeared before the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee on Sport, Recreation, Arts and Culture this Wednesday to give oral evidence on the country's preparedness for AFCON 2025. The committee also sought answers on ZIFA's implementation of its strategic plan and 100-day cycle, as well as its role in revamping the country's stadia to ensure they meet international standards.
What was very critical is our preparedness for AFCON 2025 in Morocco. Because we don't want now to be caught napping, to be caught not prepared for such a big event. You can actually see the commitment of the president has already pledged 1 million for the Warriors for the AFCON, which was actually confirmed that this is what the government is going to chip in when the team is traveling to Morocco.
ZIFA revealed they are in the process of talent scouting, with friendly matches are set to be played next month in Morocco. Also a crucial opportunity for the Warriors coach to assess player readiness, test tactical combinations, and bolster the team ahead of the AFCON finals scheduled for the 21st of December this year to the 18th of January 2026.
One of the first things we sought to do was ensure that the coach bolsters this team and strengthens it in readiness of the matches we are going to be playing come December. In that regard, he has been going around because our scouting department obviously is not fully established. So the head coach takes lead in that process. He has been going around the country to identify more talent to strengthen his squad. Beyond just going around the country, he is also taking a trip to England to identify possible additions to his squad. And with that, we have already put in place a training or a trial session in Morocco in June.
The return of the ZIFA Cup, a key initiative under the new ZIFA Executive Committee, also came under spotlight. Other issues emerging from the committee included financing of the football governing body, the state of investment in women football, technical capacitation, as well as measures being taken against corrupt match officials. John Nandara, ZBC News, Mount Abden.
Bikita Minerals head coach Wilson Mtekede is impressed by the club's rebuilding exercise after losing 8 key players.
In their debut PSL season last year, the Lithium boys were whipping boys and survived the relegation by a whisker. Fast forward to 2025, their second season in the top flight, and the team has managed 2 wins and 5 draws, which has prompted coach Wilson Mtekede to believe they are on the right path.
This is a project, and I think we will not short-circuit the process. We are happy. The youngsters are coming up. The confidence is there. If they can hold on for this long and maybe take a really challenge FC Platinum until 90 plus minutes, there is progress. I think there was a time when we were conceding a lot of goals, and now that area is sorted. We're now focusing more in terms of trying to convert the chances that come our way. We are hoping to improve.
The Lithium boys held their own for a 1-1 draw against FC Platinum at Mandava Stadium last weekend. Mthokozi Stube, ZBC News, Bulawayo.
Preparations for the regional annual sports awards RASA set for the Harare International Conference Center on Saturday are now advanced. African Union Sports Council Region 5 Chief Executive Officer Stanley Mtoya speaks on the scope of the regional awards.
We are very happy with the strides that we've made. We have all the nominees, confirmed. We have all the plans for our event itself, at the 99% completion. We are happy that confirmations from our countries to date, 7 of our ministers from the region are already confirmed to be here as part of the event, which is very important. But most importantly, we are very happy that our own head of state and government, who's also the SADC chairperson, is gracing the occasion. A very befitting, guest of honor, by the way, because that's the whole region that he chairs, which is also going to come and meet with in a platform of glitz and glamour to say thank you to the athletes and officials of our region.
From the Sports Corner, Weather Report and Focus is up next.
Good evening, Zimbabwe, and welcome to tonight's weather report and forecast. Hope you've had a wonderful day. Looking at our forecast, we're still expecting a few more sunny days over the northern parts, but to the south, we're expecting a bit of cloud. As of this morning, we had very cold conditions over the southwestern parts of the country with slight ground frost in areas such as Matopos. But the winds, however, shifted from a southwesterly, which was drying us out over those southwestern parts, to a southeasterly, which was fetching in moisture over the southeast, bringing in clouds into Chihota, as seen here in our satellite image. That's the white color that you see over the southeastern parts, with the touches of green showing where rain and drizzle are projected to fall as of tomorrow. But the rest of the weekend should see that cloud breaking off, becoming warmer as the days progress. And for now, we're expecting very cold conditions along the main watershed, but to the south, we're expecting the clouds to start drifting into areas such as Masvingo. Tomorrow, most of our temperatures should be in the teens, especially over the southern parts of the country, where we're expecting most areas to be below 20 degrees. But for Bulawayo, we're expecting 20 degrees Celsius as of the afternoon, but by morning, it should be in the cool category. Same for Matopo, we're expecting a minimum of 11, and it goes up to only 18, which is in the cold category for Gwanda area by tomorrow. And for Gwanda, we're expecting 17 thereabout. And for Gweru, we're also expecting 17 with a morning temperature about 9 degrees. Chances of frost cannot be ruled out over Gweru, especially in the early hours of morning before the cloud fetches in. For Nyanga, we're expecting a minimum of 6 and a maximum of 16 only. Marondera 8 and 18, just a 10-degree rise, so it shouldn't be very warm over Marondera, rather in the cold category. For Harare, we're expecting a maximum of 22, slightly warmer than the southern parts of the country. Same for Kwekwe, we're expecting it to rise up to about 21, 24 for Kadoma, slightly less than what it was today. Chinoi, expecting a maximum of 25 for much of the weekend. For Lupane, we're expecting 25, and it goes up to 26 on Sunday. For Victoria Falls, it starts warming up only on Monday, but for much of this weekend is in the mild category. Same for Kariba, we're expecting 27, 25 on Saturday. And for Bindura, we're expecting 23s for much of the period. That's all for our weather and forecast. Been a pleasure, Zimbabwe. I'm James Kamajunya for the Met Department.
Well, the weather report and forecast putting a cap on tonight's bulletin. Thank you for having been part of this broadcast, and from all of us here, have a good night.
Good night.
We are back again and we're broadcasting from the ZITF 2025 edition of the Zimbabwe International Trade Fair. I've been privileged and blessed at the same time to have been joined by Honorable Musa Ncube, who is the Deputy Minister in the Ministry of National Housing and Social Amenities. And my name is Tundere Mahutu. Welcome, Honorable.
Thank you.
I'm delighted
for having me here.
I'm indeed delighted to have you here.
Thank you.
And the reason why we are having this conversation, we want to understand you and your ministry, what you have done so far in terms of the NDS1, in terms of Vision 2030. What are your projections? All these that encompasses your ministry and encompasses that is also encompassed in the national blueprint. So my first question is going to be how successful your ministry has contributed towards the Second Republic's NDS1 goals, as we are now wrapping up NDS1 going into NDS2.
Okay. Thank you very much. The Ministry of National Houses has a mandate to deliver modern and affordable houses to the greater part of its citizenry. The Ministry of National Housing is co-chairing the housing delivery pillar of the National Development Strategy 1 with the Ministry of Local Government and Public Works. The objectives of the pillar are to increase access to shelter,